Hello, scholars, and welcome back to our reading of The Tale of Despereaux. This is the novel that we were reading out loud. Okay, I'm going to give you a quick recap of where we left off. So, when we left, Despereaux was taken to the dungeon where he thinks that he's going to be eaten by rats. Remember, he's taken to the dungeon for the crimes that he has committed of speaking with a human, Princess P. When he gets to the dungeon, he finds Gregory, who is also a human who is in the dungeon. And Gregory decides that he will save Despereaux because remember, Despereaux can tell Gregory stories. Okay, so in this next part of the book, we are going to learn about a rat named Roscuro. So we are on the second book, and let's get started. Okay, chapter 16. So now we're talking about the rat. Blinded by the light. As our story continues, reader, we must go back in time to the birth of a rat named Chiaroscuro, called Roscuro, a rat born into the filth and darkness of the dungeon several years before the mouse Despereaux was born upstairs in the light. Reader, do you know the definition of the word chiaroscuro? If you look in your dictionary, you will find that it means the arrangement of light and darkness and light together. Rats do not care for light. Roscuro's parents were having a bit of fun when they named their son. Rats have a sense of humor. Rats, in fact, think that life is very funny. And they are right, reader. They are right. In the case of Chiaroscuro, however, the joke had a hint of prophecy to it, for it happened that when Roscuro was a very young rat, he came upon a great length of rope on the dungeon floor. "Ah, what have we had here?" said Roscuro. Being a rat, he immediately began to nibble at the rope. "Stop that!" boomed a voice. A great hand came out of the darkness and picked up the rat by his tail and held him suspended upside down. "Were you nibbling on Gregory's rope, rat?" "Who wants to know?" said Roscuro, for even upside down he was still a rat. "You smart alecky rat, nibbling on Gregory's rope. Gregory will teach you to mess with his rope." And keeping Roscuro upside down, Gregory lit a match with the nail of his thumb, and then held the brilliant flame right in Roscuro's face. "Ah," said Roscuro. He pulled his head back away from the light, but alas, he did not close his eyes, and the flame exploded around him and danced inside him. "Has no one told you the rules?" said Gregory. "What rules?" "Gregory's rope rat is off limits. So, apologize for chewing on Gregory's rope." "I will not," said Roscuro. "Apologize? No." "Filthy rat," said Gregory. "You black-souled thing. Gregory has had it with you rats." He held the match closer to Roscuro's face, and a terrible smell of burnt whiskers rose up around the jailer and the rat. And then the match went out, and Gregory released Roscuro's tail. He flung him back into the darkness. "Do not ever touch Gregory's rope again, or you will be sorry." Roscuro sat on the dungeon floor. The whiskers on the left side of his face were gone. His heart was beating hard, and though the light from the match had disappeared, it danced still before the rat's eyes when he closed them. "Light," he said aloud, and then he whispered the word again. "Light." From that moment forward, Roscuro showed an inordinate interest in the illumination of all sorts. He was always in the darkness of the dungeon, on the lookout for light, the smallest glimmer, the tiniest shimmer. His rat soul longed inexplicably for it. He began to think that light was the only thing that gave life meaning, and he despaired that there was so little of it to be had. He finally voiced this sentiment to his friend, a very old, one-eared rat named Boticelli Remorso. "I think," said Roscuro, "that the meaning of life is light." "Light?" said Boticelli. "Ha ha ha, you kill me. Light has nothing to do with it." "What does it all mean, then?" asked Roscuro. "The meaning of life," said Boticelli, "is suffering, specifically the suffering of others. Prisoners, for instance. Reducing a prisoner to weeping and wailing and begging is a delightful way to invest your existence with meaning." So scholars Roscuro thinks that light is the meaning of life, and he loves light ever since Gregory lit the match. But Botticelli thinks that suffering and darkness is the meaning of light. So I see a difference between those two characters. As he spoke, Botticelli swung from one extraordinarily long nail of his right front paw a heart-shaped locket. He had taken the locket from a prisoner and hung it on a thin braided rope. Whenever Botticelli spoke, the lock moved. Back and forth it swung. "Are you listening?" Botticelli said to Roscuro. "I am listening." "Good," said Botticelli. "Do as I say, and your life will be full of meaning. This is how to torture a prisoner. First, you must convince him that you are a friend. Listen to him. Encourage him to confess his sins, and when the time is right, talk to him. Tell him what he wants to hear. Tell him, for instance, that you will forgive him. This is a wonderful joke to play upon a prisoner, to promise forgiveness." "Why?" said Roscuro. His eyes went back and forth, following the locket. "Because," said Botticelli, "you will promise it, but you will not grant it. You gain his trust, and then you deny him. You refuse to offer him the thing he wants, forgiveness. Freedom, friendship, whatever it is that his heart most desires, you withhold." At this point in his lecture, Botticelli laughed so hard that he had to sit down to catch his breath. The locket swayed slowly back and forth and then stopped altogether. "Ha," said Botticelli, "ha, ha, ha, you gain his trust, you refuse him, and ha, ha, you become what he knew you were all along, what you knew you were all along. Not a friend, not a confessor, not a forgiver, but a rat." Botticelli wiped his eyes and shook his head and sighed a great sigh of contentment. He set the lock in motion again. At that point, it is most effective to run back and forth over the prisoner's feet, inducing physical terror along with the emotional sort. "Oh," he said, "it is such a lovely game, and it is just absolutely chock full of meaning." "I would like very much to torture a prisoner," said Roscuro. "I would like to make someone suffer." "Your time will come," said Botticelli. "Currently, all the prisoners are spoken for, but another prisoner will arrive sooner or later." "How do I know this to be true?" "Because, Roscuro, thankfully, there is evil in this world, and the presence of evil guarantees the existence of prisoners. Soon, there will be a prisoner for me?" "Yes," said Botticelli remorso. "Yes. I'm looking forward to it." "Ha, ha, ha, of course you are looking forward to it. You are looking forward to it because you are a rat, a real rat." "Yes," said Roscuro, "I am a real rat, concerned not at all with the light," said Botticelli. "Concerned not at all with the light," repeated Roscuro. Botticelli looked again and shook his head. The locket suspended from the long nail on his paw swung back and forth, back and forth. "You, my young friend, are a rat. Exactly, yes. Evil, prisoners, rats, suffering. It all fits together so neatly, so sweetly. Oh, it is a lovely world, a lovely, dark world." So Botticelli convinces Roscuro that suffering and evil are the meaning of life. And Roscuro says that he wants a prisoner that he can be mean to. So both say that being evil is part of being a rat. So Roscuro is agreeing with Botticelli. Okay. Chapter 17. No small comforts. Not long after this conversation between Botticelli and Roscuro, a prisoner did arrive. The dungeon door slammed, and the two rats watched a man being led by a king's soldier down the stairs into the dungeon. "Excellent," whispered Botticelli. "This one is yours." Roscuro looked at the man closely. "I will make him suffer," he said. But as he stared up at the man, the door to the dungeon was suddenly flung open, and a thick and brilliant shaft of afternoon light cut into the dark of the dungeon. "Ugh," said Botticelli. He covered his eyes with one paw. Roscuro, however, stared directly into the light. Reader, this is important. The rat called Chiaroscuro did not look away. He let the light from the upstairs world enter him and fill him. He gasped aloud with the wonder of it. "Give him his small comforts," shouted a voice at the top of the stairs, and a red cloth was thrown into the light. The cloth hung suspended for a moment, red and glowing, and then the door slammed shut again, and the light disappeared, and the cloth fell to the floor. It was Gregory the jailer who bent to pick it up. "Go on," said the old man as he held out the cloth to the prisoner. "Take it. You'll need every last bit of warmth down here." And so the prisoner took the cloth and draped it around his shoulders as if it were a cloak. And the soldier and the king said, "Right then, Gregory, he's all yours." And the soldier turned and went back up the steps and opened the door to the outside world, and some small light leaked in before he closed the door behind him. Here is a picture of Gregory putting a paw over his hand to blind the light, but Roscuro looking directly at the light. "Did you see that?" Roscuro said to Boticelli. "Hideously ugly," said Boticelli. "Ridiculous. What can they possibly mean by letting all that light in at once? Don't they know this is a dungeon?" "It was beautiful," said Roscuro. "No," said Boticelli. "No." He looked at Roscuro intently. "No, not beautiful. No." "I must see more light. I must see all of it," said Roscuro. "I must go upstairs." Boticelli sighed. "Who cares about the light? Your obsession with it is tiresome. Listen, we are rats. We do not like light. We are about darkness. We are about suffering." "But," said Roscuro, "upstairs." "No buts," said Boticelli. "No buts. None. Rats do not go upstairs. Upstairs is the domain of mice." He took the locket from around his neck. "What," he said, swinging it back and forth, "is this rope made of?" "Whiskers." "The whiskers of whom?" "Mice." "Exactly. And who lives upstairs?" "Mice." "Exactly, mice." Boticelli turned his head and spat on the floor. "Mice are nothing but little packages of blood and bones, afraid of everything. They are despicable, laughable, the opposite of everything we strive to be. Do you want to live in their world?" Roscuro looked up past Boticelli to the delicious sliver of light that shone out from underneath the door. He said nothing. "Listen," said Boticelli, "this is what you should do. Go and torture the prisoner. Go and take the red cloth from him. The cloth will satisfy your cravings for something from that world, but do not go up to the light. You will regret it." As he spoke, the locket swung back and forth, back and forth. "You do not belong in that world. You are a rat. A rat. Say it with me." "A rat," said Roscuro. "Ah, but you are cheating. You must say, 'I am a rat,'" said Boticelli, smiling at his slow smile at Roscuro. "I am a rat," said Roscuro. "Again," said Boticelli, swinging his locket. "I am a rat." "Exactly," said Boticelli. "A rat is a rat is a rat. End of story. World without end. Amen." "Yes," said Roscuro. "Amen. I am a rat." He closed his eyes. He saw, again, the red cloth spinning against the backdrop of gold. And he told himself, reader, that it was the cloth that he desired, and not the light. Okay. So that was chapters 16 and 17. I have a few questions for you. So the first question is, what have we learned so far about Roscuro? The second question is, what does Boticelli think about mice? So what I want you to do is pause the video, answer these questions. They're going to be written in the comment section. You can talk about these questions either with someone who is listening or reading to this book with you, or you can write them down and send them to your teacher. So pause the video now. You can check the comments for the questions. Okay, so now that you have paused the video, you've either talked to somebody about these questions or you have written them down. Let's go over them. So the first question was, what have we learned about Roscuro? So we've learned a lot about Roscuro, right? So one of the most important things is that we know he loves the light. And he says that he wants to go upstairs to see more light because it's really dark in the dungeon, right? And he becomes fascinated with light when Gregory lights the match and he first sees the light. I'm making a connection here because I'm noticing that Roscuro really likes the light, even though the other rats don't. Like Boticelli says that rats like darkness. I'm making the connection. Remember, Despereaux likes a lot of things that other mice don't like. So I'm noticing that both Roscuro and Despereaux are different from the people that they live with. So I'm going to keep that connection in my head and see what happens for the rest of the book, if we can notice any other similarities between them. Okay, the second question was, what does Boticelli think about mice? Well, I can go back in the book. It was actually on this last page. He says, Mice are afraid of everything. They are despicable, laughable, and opposite of everything we strive to be. So that's telling me that Botticelli really doesn't like mice, and that the mice are really different from rats. So I went back in my book and I found text evidence to answer that question. Okay, that was 2 chapters of the Tale of Despereaux. Check back for more. Bye, scholars.